Hello, good evening. Back from Bangkok. Oh, I mentioned the bad name. They're funny, you know. You're full of enthusiasm. You're full of wanting to share my moments with you, like my thoughts of the day. You'd think that doing a visa run to Bangkok would be of interest to people, but clearly it's not. Uh, I suppose they just see it as not related to the Philippines. But I tend to disagree. Excuse me. Not good for you, sugar, but I don't have that much. Anyway, one of the reasons why I shared my secret trip to Bangkok on my visa run was to invite you to really give it a bit more thought than just Grumpy Brit in the Philippines or John from British Expat in the Philippines raving on about his trip. It was more about information, ideas, and reflections. You're not interested in that, are you? You want drama, you want intrigue, and not everybody can provide it on tap because living in the Philippines is not about drama. I suppose you could say the drama is in everybody's minds. And the real life in the Philippines is one of being able to readjust to the idea that we're living in a third world country. I try not to dwell on that fact. I try to say that we're more rural in outlook, more struggling in output. And in itself, talking about that is somehow focusing on the poverty. And clearly the poverty is great here in the Philippines. And I say great in the sense that it's profound, it's everywhere. Everybody struggles. It's never an easy life. You know, the younger generation of our many Western countries experience the same hardships as many here, except that for here, it's that much harder because of the fact they don't have somewhere comfortable always to go home to each night. To know that mum and dad are okay and that the household is functioning well. There's always this underlying tone of where does tomorrow's future come from? And of course, we as foreigners add that little bit of the recipe, the ingredient, to many young Filipino women who put aside their ambitions for love and family in terms of a normal family, getting married at a young age, having children, building a home, having a future with their Filipino. And they choose to take on somebody like ourselves, a foreigner, which is almost like instant wealth. And it clearly is that. It is with instant wealth. It provides them with something that their counterparts don't have. You know, whilst you might live with a foreigner, you don't really have to worry about the power bill, the internet costs, where the food's coming from. That sort of disappears overnight. And naturally it would, because we want to offer the best for our partner, our wife, our girlfriend. But in amongst all that, we cannot help that by coming to the Philippines, we're taking a step back in many things. And one is the quality of life that we would generally expect to have. For those that build their own home, there is that expectation that you can at least create your immediate surroundings, such as this, quite easily. It doesn't have to be a big palace, it can be just a comfortable apartment or a small home on a piece of rural land. But whatever it does, it provides you that little bubble where you can live your life according to your own background a little bit more easily. But for a Filipino, that means stepping up in the scheme of things. Now, whilst that's all going on, we have to deal with jealousy, we have to deal with gossip, we have to deal with tempo, we have to deal with mood changes altogether, maybe even a complete turnaround and being told that you're no longer required, you're surplus to one's requirement. And that means that for many of us, we have to start again. Again. It's not as daunting as we might like to think it is, because once we've experienced one difficult relationship, I won't say bad, but difficult, we are more prepared to, or should I say not prepared, to take the shit anymore. Not prepared to weather the storm always. We have to put our foot down. And it has to be understood by the person you're choosing to live with that that's what we want. We want a simple life. We want a peaceful life. We don't want it to be full of drama. Every time something doesn't go the right way, for somebody to have a hissy fit and create disharmony in a home. For most Filipinos, though, if we are adamant about something, we tend to generally raise our voice a little bit. Not necessarily shouting, but raising it so it sounds more authoritative. And for a Filipino, that's seen as a challenge in the sense of a confrontation. And when that happens, you sort of lose the essence of any kind of discussion. So we really have to become reset in our minds that life has to be more laid back, more chilled out. Now, of course, if you're one of these guys that comes from overseas and you want to have a booze up every night with your mates up at the local bar, which often are karaoke bars anyway, doesn't go down too well with your new partner, not unless she's really into it herself. And I would imagine for many men, that's maybe not quite what they were planning on their night out, on the booze, with the wife in tow. And there lies a bit of a problem. You know, statistics show that many ex-servicemen suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. And they bring with that a certain amount of concern and problems with them when they come to the Philippines. And one is always conscious that that is a big bugbear to handle. There isn't the backup and support, except maybe from fellow military men. Hence the accumulation of small ghettos of foreigners around Dumaguete and Cebu and Davao, where there clearly are more concentrations of locals who are from foreign countries. So they're able to offer a little bit more moral support, if nothing else. But we have to remember that we are still guests in this country. And to step out of line, whether blaming it on an issue that you have no control over, won't be accepted by those around you. It might be by your wife, but for how long? And is it really a big ask for her to take that on? Some of you have even described your wives as if in the terminology that they're bipolar. I tend to agree there, definitely. They display many of the traits of bipolar, and that in itself is a difficult dilemma too, for us foreigners to deal with. But how do we find that right person? Will we ever find that right person? That's really the question we have to ask ourselves. And I think the simple answer to that is, I think the best woman will find you, rather than you finding them. Sure, you'll play the field and soon narrow the opportunities, but wasting your time on dating sites, I think, is a waste of time. All it will do is give you the initial contact with the female variety. Whether you'll find a permanent partner, I don't know. But whatever happens, it's a journey, and it's a journey that we all need to, if we made our mind up that the Philippines is for us, which for many it is, then it will be a wonderful trip, a wonderful experience. And I hope that you'll continue to join me as I unravel some of my innermost thoughts to you. Bye now.